There are moments in life when a single conversation, a single thought, or a single decision changes everything. Imagine standing at a crossroads, with one path leading to the life you have always known, safe, predictable, and limited, and the other leading into the unknown, where your potential is untested and your true capabilities are waiting to be discovered. Most people stand at this intersection for years, paralyzed by fear or convinced they are not ready. What if, instead of waiting for a miracle, you realized that the miracle was already inside you? Personal power is not about dominance, wealth, or influence over others. It is about influence over yourself, the ability to direct your thoughts, shape your emotions, and take action in alignment with your deepest desires. Yet so many of us surrender this power without even realizing it. We let habits dictate our choices, beliefs inherited from others shape our worldview, and fears born in childhood decide what is possible for us as adults. Think of a person who starts with nothing, no resources, no special connections, and yet rises to create extraordinary success. How do they do it? It is not magic. It is not luck. It is a set of principles, applied with relentless commitment. When someone learns to master their inner world, the way they think, feel, and respond, they unlock a level of performance and fulfillment that seems almost superhuman to the outside world. Take the story of a young man named David. He grew up in a small town, surrounded by people who believed life was a matter of fate. You take what you are given, they would say, as though dreams were dangerous and ambition was a burden. David was told from childhood that he should be realistic, keep his head down, and not expect too much. For a long time, he listened. He worked hard but without passion, living each day like the one before, waiting for something to change. One day, on his lunch break, David wandered into a used bookstore. A dusty book caught his eye. It was about human potential, the science of achievement, and the mind's ability to shape reality. He bought it for the price of a sandwich. That night, he stayed up reading until sunrise. The words ignited something inside him, a truth he had always felt but never understood, that his destiny was not something to be found, but something to be created. David began to experiment. He noticed that when he stood taller, spoke with more certainty, and visualized success, people responded to him differently. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach began to appear. He replaced the voice in his head that said "I cannot" with one that asked, "How can I?" Slowly, his results changed, not because the world had suddenly become easier, but because he had. The essence of unlimited power is not that the obstacles disappear, but that you rise above them. The challenges you face are not signs to turn back, they are tests to prove you are ready for more. Every belief you hold is like a lens through which you see the world. Change the lens, and you change the view. Change the view, and you change the possibilities you see for yourself. What you are about to explore is not a theory reserved for scholars or motivational speakers. It is a blueprint for anyone regardless of background, education, or current circumstances who wants to take command of their life. It is about mastering three interconnected dimensions: your mind, your body, and your ability to communicate both with yourself and with others. When these align, you become a force of nature. But this journey requires more than just knowledge. Knowledge is potential power. Only applied knowledge backed by belief and consistent action transforms lives. Think of the many people who know they should exercise, eat better, or pursue their dreams, yet never do. The gap between knowing and doing is the very space where most lives remain unfulfilled. The tools you will encounter are designed to bridge that gap permanently. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the certainty that you can handle anything life throws your way. Imagine walking into a room and commanding attention without saying a word, because your presence speaks of confidence and clarity. Imagine making decisions not out of fear, but from a place of vision and purpose. This is not a fantasy. It is a skill set, and like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Unlimited power is not about being better than others, it is about being better than you were yesterday. It is the commitment to constant improvement, the refusal to settle, and the courage to take full responsibility for your life. It means no longer blaming circumstances, luck, or other people for where you are, but instead recognizing that you are the author of your own story. David's transformation was not instant. There were days when doubt returned, when old habits tried to pull him back. But he kept moving forward, fueled by a new standard he had set for himself. Years later, he looked back and realized that the moment he decided to claim his personal power was the moment his life truly began. The truth is, you are capable of far more than you have ever imagined. You have untapped resources of strength, creativity, and resilience within you. The key is learning how to access them on command, to take control of the forces that shape your life, and to step into a future you design deliberately. The question is not whether you have the power. The question is whether you are ready to claim it. Part 1, The Power of Belief, Shaping Your Reality. Beliefs are invisible architects. They lay down the foundations upon which we build our lives, our relationships, careers, health, and happiness. Most people think beliefs are facts, fixed and unchangeable. But the truth is, they are choices often made unconsciously that become self-fulfilling prophecies. Change your beliefs, and your reality changes with them. Let's go back to David's story. After discovering the idea of personal power, he began to notice something strange. Whenever he believed something was possible, his mind immediately began searching for ways to make it happen. But when he told himself it was impossible, his brain shut down, offering excuses instead of solutions. One morning, as he prepared for a job interview at a company far beyond his experience level, David caught himself thinking, "They'll never hire me." That thought carried with it a weight, a sinking in his stomach, a slouch in his posture, a hesitation in his tone. And in that moment, he realized, the interview had already been lost in his mind before he even stepped into the room. Beliefs are like the operating system of your brain. They run silently in the background, dictating how you respond to challenges, opportunities, and setbacks. If the operating system is infected with the virus of limitation, I'm not good enough, I'm not lucky, people like me never succeed, then every decision you make will reflect that programming. Think of the 4-minute mile. For decades, athletes believed it was physically impossible to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Scientists even claimed the human body would collapse under the strain. But in 1954, Roger Bannister broke the barrier. Within a year, several other runners did the same. The moment the belief shifted, performance followed. David decided to rewrite his own mental programming. He began to ask himself a simple but powerful question: what would I attempt if I knew I could not fail? The answers were shocking. He realized he had been dreaming small, not because he lacked ability, but because he had been living inside a prison built from borrowed beliefs. To change a belief, you must first identify it. Most of our limiting beliefs are inherited. We pick them up from parents, teachers, friends, or society without questioning their truth. Phrases like "money doesn't grow on trees," "dreams don't pay the bills," or "be realistic" become rules we follow blindly. The first step to breaking free is becoming aware of the rules you are following. David started writing them down. One belief read, "I'm not a natural leader." Another said, "I need more experience before I can start my own business." With each one, he asked, "Who says? Where did I get this from? Is this belief helping me or holding me back?" Once you challenge a belief, you weaken it. But to truly replace it, you need a stronger belief to take its place. David didn't just tell himself he could be a leader, he found evidence. He remembered times in school when he had inspired his team to win a competition. He recalled moments when his advice had helped a friend make a breakthrough. Slowly, he built a new identity around the belief that he could lead, and lead well. Beliefs don't just shape what we attempt, they shape how we interpret life. Two people can face the same event, say, losing a job, and see it in completely different ways. One sees disaster, the other sees opportunity. The difference isn't in the event, but in the meaning they assign to it. Your beliefs are the lens through which you assign meaning. This is where many people get stuck. They wait for proof before they believe. But in reality, belief often comes before proof. Bannister didn't wait for evidence that the 4-minute mile was possible, he believed first, and then created the evidence. Likewise, David didn't wait for someone to declare him a leader, he acted as one until it became reality. The human mind has an extraordinary ability to find what it is looking for. Psychologists call this the reticular activating system, RAS, a network in your brain that filters information based on what you consider important. If you believe opportunities are everywhere, your RAS will notice them. If you believe the world is against you, it will find proof of that instead. Your beliefs literally direct your perception. David made it a daily practice to affirm his new empowering beliefs and visualize their outcomes. Before important meetings, he would imagine himself speaking with confidence, influencing the room, and achieving the outcome he wanted. Over time, this mental rehearsal wired his brain to expect success, and when you expect success, you naturally act in ways that bring it about. But there's a deeper truth here: Beliefs are not just mental, they are emotional. To truly change a belief, you must feel it in your body. When David replaced "I'm not a leader" with "I am a leader who inspires others," he didn't just say it, he stood taller, spoke louder, and moved with conviction. His physiology reinforced his psychology. This is why many affirmations fail, they remain words without feeling. But when you align your body, emotions, and focus with a belief, it becomes part of you. By the end of his first year practicing these techniques, David had transformed. He landed the job he once thought was impossible, led a successful project, and even started a side business that soon became his main source of income. None of this happened because the world suddenly became easier, it happened because his beliefs changed the way he interacted with the world. Here's the ultimate takeaway: your life is a reflection of your deepest beliefs. If you want to change your life, don't start with your circumstances, start with your beliefs. Ask yourself, what beliefs are keeping me where I am? What new beliefs would move me toward where I want to be? Your reality is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped by the invisible power of what you believe is possible. When you master this, you hold the blueprint to build the life you truly desire. Part 2, the mastery of state, taking charge of your mind and emotions. At the heart of personal power lies a skill most people overlook: the ability to control your state of mind at will. Your state, your mental and emotional condition at any given moment, determines how you think, how you act, and ultimately, the results you get. Most people let their state be dictated by circumstance. They wake up tired, spill coffee on their shirt, hit traffic, and spend the rest of the day irritated and distracted. But if you can learn to choose your state instead of reacting to the environment, you take back the steering wheel of your life. David discovered this lesson the hard way. One morning, just before a crucial presentation, he got a phone call that shook him. A close friend had been in an accident. The friend was okay, but the news left David shaken and distracted. He walked into the meeting carrying that emotional weight. His voice was flat, his energy low, his ideas scattered. The meeting didn't go well. Later, reflecting on the experience, he realized something important: nothing physically prevented him from delivering a great presentation that day. The facts of his life hadn't changed. What changed was his state, and his performance had followed. Tony Robbins teaches that your state is a combination of physiology, focus, and language. Change any one of these, and you change your state. Change all three, and you transform it instantly. 1. Physiology: move your body, change your mind. Your body and mind are deeply connected. Think about it: when you're sad, you slump your shoulders, breathe shallowly, and speak in a softer tone. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, and smile, it's nearly impossible to stay in a depressed state for long. David experimented with this before important meetings. He would stand up, stretch his chest open, take deep breaths, and walk briskly for a few minutes. This physical shift sent a powerful signal to his brain: we're ready. And sure enough, his thoughts and emotions would begin to align. 2. Focus: where attention goes, energy flows. The second element of state is focus: what you choose to pay attention to. If you focus on problems, you feel stuck. If you focus on solutions, you feel empowered. If you focus on what's wrong in your life, you'll feel anxious. Focus on what's right, and gratitude follows. During one high-pressure project, David caught himself worrying constantly about what could go wrong. The stress was crippling. Then he remembered Robbins' principle: you get what you focus on. He began deliberately focusing on what had already gone right, what resources he had, and what opportunities lay ahead. His confidence returned, and his performance improved. 3. Language: words shape experience. The words you use, both in your head and out loud, shape how you feel. There's a difference between saying "I'm exhausted" and "I need to recharge." One drains you, the other points to a solution. David noticed that in stressful situations, his self-talk often sounded like, "This is a disaster," or "I can't handle this." He replaced these with phrases like, "This is a challenge, and I love challenges," or "I can handle anything that comes my way." The change was immediate. His state shifted from anxiety to determination. The triad of state change. Robbins often teaches the state change triad using physiology, focus, and language together. David turned it into a ritual. Whenever he felt off, he would: physiology: jump up, shake his arms, do a quick set of push-ups, or simply move with power. Focus: ask himself, What's great about this situation? What can I learn from it? Language: speak powerful, positive phrases out loud to reinforce his mindset. Within minutes, his emotional state would be completely different. Why mastering state is so important. Opportunities rarely come when we feel ready. They come at unexpected times, often when life is chaotic. If you can shift into a peak state at will, you can perform at your best no matter what's happening around you. Athletes use this skill constantly. Before stepping onto the field, they pump themselves up with music, physical warm-ups, and mental imagery. Speakers use it before taking the stage. Top performers in any field know, your state is your power source. David began to notice another benefit: by controlling his own state, he could influence others. When he walked into a room with high energy, people mirrored it. When he stayed calm under pressure, his team followed suit. Leaders don't just manage tasks, they manage emotional climates. The breakthrough moment. The real test came during a major sales pitch to an international client. Right before the presentation, the projector malfunctioned. The slides' hours of work were unusable. Old David would have panicked, rushed, and probably delivered a messy talk. But now, he recognized the signs of a slipping state. He excused himself for 2 minutes, walked to the hallway, took deep breaths, rolled his shoulders back, and said out loud, "This is going to be the most engaging presentation I've ever given." He focused on the client's needs, not the technical problem. When he returned, he delivered the pitch entirely from memory, making it conversational and interactive. The client loved it and signed the deal. A lesson for everyone. The events of your life are not the primary cause of your feelings, your state is. And your state is within your control. To practice, try this simple drill. Morning ritual: upon waking, move your body vigorously for a few minutes, list 3 things you're grateful for, and speak 1 empowering sentence out loud. Midday reset: if you feel low energy, change your posture, shift your focus to what's working, and speak a solution-oriented phrase. Evening reflection: ask yourself, when today did I manage my state well? Where can I improve? Over time, this becomes automatic. Instead of being a prisoner of mood swings, you become the master of your inner world. David's journey had taught him something priceless: life will throw challenges at you, but the power to face them comes from within. If you can command your state, you can command your destiny. Because in the end, your state isn't just how you feel, it's the fuel that drives everything you do. Part 3: The Power of Strategy, Modeling Excellence and Creating Your Plan. Having learned to master his state, David discovered something equally powerful: no matter how motivated or confident you feel, if you don't have a clear and effective strategy, your results will be limited. Enthusiasm without direction is like revving an engine while the car is in neutral, lots of noise, no movement. This truth hit him during his early career. After a burst of inspiration from a seminar, David worked 14-hour days, throwing himself into projects with raw energy. But months later, he looked back and realized he was exhausted and had little to show for it. He had been moving, but not necessarily moving in the right direction. That's when he came across one of Tony Robbins' most transformative ideas: success leaves clues. If someone else has already achieved the result you want, you can model their actions, thinking patterns, and beliefs to create your own success, often faster than they did. Modeling, the shortcut to mastery. Modeling is more than copying, it's studying excellence so deeply that you can replicate its core principles in your own way. Robbins teaches that you should look for 3 levels when modeling someone. Beliefs and values: what do they believe about themselves, others, and the world that allows them to succeed? Mental syntax: how do they think? What's their step-by-step decision-making process? Physiology and action patterns: how do they physically approach their work? What habits and rituals do they maintain? David's first experiment with modeling. David wanted to become a top sales performer. Instead of reinventing the wheel, he approached the company's best salesperson, Maria. She had been breaking sales records for years, and her clients were fiercely loyal. He didn't just ask her for tips, he shadowed her for a week. He observed her posture when she walked into a room, the way she asked questions to uncover client needs, and how she listened more than she spoke. He noticed she didn't rush to close a sale, she built trust first. When he asked about her mindset, Maria revealed something surprising: "I never think about selling. I think about helping. I believe if I give the client exactly what they need, even if it means less profit for me now, they'll come back again and again. This belief completely shifted David's approach. Within months of applying her strategies, his sales numbers climbed steadily. The strategy triangle: model, adapt, apply. From his experience, David built a simple 3-step framework. Model: find someone who has the result you want. Study them in detail: beliefs, thinking, and behavior. Adapt: customize their approach to fit your strengths, personality, and situation. You don't have to copy them exactly, make it yours. Apply: take action consistently, measure results, and refine as needed. Why strategy outweighs effort alone. Tony Robbins often says, you can run east looking for a sunset, but you'll never find it. Strategy determines whether your energy is being invested in something that will actually work. David once worked with a startup founder who was brilliant but overwhelmed. The founder was putting in 80-hour weeks, trying to do everything himself. David encouraged him to study a business leader who had already scaled a company in the same industry. By modeling that leader's strategy, hiring key team members earlier, focusing on high-value clients first, and delegating non-critical tasks, the founder cut his workload by 30% while tripling revenue within a year. Reverse engineering your goals. One of the most effective strategies Robbins teaches is to work backward from your desired outcome. Instead of starting with "what should I do today?" ask, "What's the ultimate outcome I want? Who has already achieved it? What steps did they take, and in what order?" David applied this when training for his first half marathon. Rather than guessing how to prepare, he found a proven 16-week training plan used by elite runners and adapted it to his schedule. He didn't have to figure out the right mix of long runs, speed work, and rest days. It was already laid out. The compound effect of strategy. A good strategy not only saves time but multiplies results. Think of it like compound interest: small, smart actions repeated over time create exponential growth. David set up a strategy hour every Sunday evening. During that time, he would review his long-term goals, analyze the past week's results, and adjust his plan for the next week. This habit prevented him from drifting into unproductive busyness. The mindset shift. Perhaps the most profound realization was this: strategy is not about being rigid, it's about creating a roadmap you can adjust as you learn. Maria once told David, "A strategy is like a sail on a boat. You set it to catch the wind, but you adjust it constantly as conditions change. The destination stays the same, but the path may shift." This flexibility saved David during a high-stakes product launch. The original marketing plan wasn't generating enough buzz. Instead of pushing harder on a failing approach, he and his team studied a competitor who had successfully built hype. They adapted that competitor's pre-launch campaign strategy, offering sneak previews and building a waitlist, and sales surged. Your action plan for strategy mastery. Identify a model, choose someone who has the results you want. Break down their success, study their beliefs, thought processes, and actions. Test and measure, apply their methods, track results, and tweak as needed. Review weekly, dedicate time to evaluate progress and refine strategy. David's journey taught him that energy fuels action, but strategy directs it. Without strategy, even the most motivated person can burn out chasing the wrong goals. But with a clear, proven plan, you can make massive progress with far less wasted effort. When you combine mastery of state with mastery of strategy, you have both the fuel and the map, and that's when you start moving toward unlimited power. Part 4, The Power of Belief, Shaping Your Reality. David had seen it in himself, and he had seen it in others. Two people with the same skills, resources, and opportunities could produce wildly different results simply because they believed different things about themselves and the world. This is where Tony Robbins' teaching hits deep. Your beliefs are the compass of your life. They determine what you see, what you act on, and what you ignore. If you believe something is impossible, your mind will filter out opportunities that could prove you wrong. If you believe it's possible, you'll start noticing doors you never saw before. The invisible force driving decisions. Beliefs are like the software running in the background of your mind. Most of the time, you're not even aware they're there, yet they shape every choice you make. David once coached a young woman named Priya who dreamed of starting her own business but had been putting it off for years. When he asked why, she said, "I'm just not the kind of person who can lead a team." This wasn't a fact, it was a belief. And as long as she held onto it, she would never take the steps to prove herself wrong. Tony teaches that beliefs are nothing more than a feeling of certainty about what something means. Change the meaning, and you change the belief. Empowering versus limiting beliefs. Robbins divides beliefs into two categories. Limiting beliefs, the mental brakes that keep you from accelerating toward your goals. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the time. People like me don't succeed at that. Empowering beliefs, the mental fuel that drives you forward. Every skill is learnable. Setbacks are feedback. If others can do it, so can I. David realized his own limiting beliefs had been holding him back. In his early sales career, he believed he was bad at public speaking. This belief made him avoid presentations, which in turn limited his visibility in the company. But then he remembered Robbins' insight: beliefs are not set in stone, they are built from repeated experiences and interpretations. Change the experiences, and the belief starts to shift. Rewriting the story. David decided to create new evidence for himself. He joined a local speaking club, forcing himself to give short talks every week. At first, his hands shook and his voice wavered. But over time, as the crowd responded positively, his brain collected new proof that he could, in fact, speak well in public. Within a year, he was leading presentations at work with confidence. The belief "I'm bad at public speaking" had been replaced with "I can inspire people with my words." How beliefs are formed. Robbins explains that beliefs are created through a mix of personal experiences, what you've been through and how you've interpreted it. Social influence, what parents, teachers, friends, and culture have told you. Repetition and emotion, the more often you hear or feel something, the more deeply it's wired in. The boiling water analogy. David often uses an analogy with his clients: beliefs are like the temperature of boiling water. If you believe water boils at 80 degrees Celsius, you'll never turn up the heat enough to actually see it boil. Similarly, if you believe your income can't go above a certain number, you'll subconsciously stop yourself from taking actions that would push past it. Breaking limiting beliefs. Tony Robbins gives a simple but powerful process. Identify the limiting belief. What's the thought that's been holding you back? Challenge its validity. Where's the proof? Can you think of examples that contradict it? Create a new empowering belief. Replace "I'm not good at X" with "I can learn to master X." Condition the new belief. Rehearse it daily, visualize it, and act on it until it feels natural. Priya's breakthrough. Remember Priya, who believed she couldn't lead? David had her list every time in her life when she had organized people or inspired others, even small things, like planning a family trip. Slowly, she began to see evidence she had ignored. They then created a new belief: "I can learn to lead," by focusing on helping people succeed. Priya started a small side project with 2 friends. When it worked well, her confidence grew. A year later, she launched her own business, and that old belief was a distant memory. Beliefs create self-fulfilling prophecies. One of the most fascinating truths David learned is that beliefs tend to prove themselves right. If you believe you're bad at networking, you'll avoid events, stay in the corner, and come home with no new contacts, proving yourself correct. But if you believe you're good at making connections, you'll smile more, initiate conversations, and guess what? People will respond positively. The emotional link. It's not enough to just think a new belief, you have to feel it. Emotion is what cements beliefs into your nervous system. That's why Robbins emphasizes associating empowering beliefs with strong, positive emotions through visualization, movement, and celebration. David started celebrating small wins immediately. Close a sale? Celebrate. Finish a workout? Celebrate. Every small victory reinforced his belief that he was capable of creating success. Your action plan for belief mastery. Write down 3 limiting beliefs that are holding you back. For each, find 3 counterexamples from your own life that prove it wrong. Craft a new empowering belief to replace it. Visualize and act on it daily until it becomes second nature. David's journey with belief taught him this: your life is not limited by your circumstances, it's limited by your perceptions of what's possible. Once you change your beliefs, you don't just change your thoughts, you change your future. Part 5, The Power of Energy, Maintaining Peak Performance. When David first started chasing big goals, he focused almost entirely on strategy. He wanted the perfect plan, the right steps, and the best tools. But over time, he realized something Tony Robbins often says: success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. And part of that psychology, maybe the most overlooked part, is energy. You can have the most brilliant plan in the world, but if your body is tired, your mind foggy, and your spirit drained, you'll struggle to execute it. The day energy became the priority. David learned this lesson the hard way. It was during a product launch at his company. He had been working late nights, skipping meals, surviving on coffee, and barely moving from his desk. The big presentation day arrived, and despite knowing his content inside out, he felt sluggish, distracted, and unfocused. The result? He fumbled through his pitch, forgot key points, and lost an important investor's interest. That night, he replayed Tony Robbins' words in his mind: "Your energy is the fuel for everything you do." And he vowed to treat his body as the powerhouse it truly was. The triad of peak energy. Robbins teaches that energy doesn't just happen to you, it's something you can deliberately create. The three pillars are: physical energy, how you fuel, move, and rest your body. Emotional energy, the states you choose to live in daily. Mental energy, the clarity and focus you bring to your tasks. One physical energy, your biological battery. David realized that if he wanted consistent high performance, he needed to treat his body like an athlete would. Nutrition, he swapped sugar-filled snacks for whole foods, lean proteins, leafy greens, nuts, and fresh fruits. Instead of huge heavy meals that made him crash, he ate smaller portions more frequently. Hydration, he noticed a direct correlation: on days he drank plenty of water, his mind was sharper. On dehydrated days, brain fog took over. Movement, sitting for hours was killing his productivity. He started doing short stretching and walking breaks every hour. Sometimes he'd even take calls while walking outside. The transformation was immediate. He felt lighter, more alert, and far more resilient to stress. 2. Emotional energy, your inner weather. Tony says your emotional state can change in seconds if you know how to control it. David began using state change techniques before important meetings. This meant standing tall, shoulders back, taking deep, powerful breaths, playing music that pumped him up, visualizing a successful outcome. In just 2 minutes, he could shift from stress to confident. And that emotional shift made people respond to him differently. 3. Mental energy, guarding your focus. Even with physical health and emotional mastery, David found his energy leaked away when he let distractions take over. So he set rules. No phone during deep work sessions. Emails checked only twice a day. The first hour after waking dedicated to learning, not reacting to messages. By protecting his focus, he discovered he could achieve in 4 hours what used to take him 8. The ripple effect of energy. High energy didn't just improve David's work. It made him more present in conversations, more playful with friends, and more resilient during challenges. Priya, the entrepreneur from earlier, told him she'd adopted the same approach. She stopped seeing exercise as optional and started seeing it as a non-negotiable business tool. "I don't just work out for my body," she said. "I work out for my business." Tony Robbins' Rapid Energy Reset. Robbins often uses these quick tools to reset his energy. Breathing exercises, inhaling for a count of 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4. Hydration boost, drinking a full glass of water with lemon. Posture shift, standing tall and stretching. Power move, doing something physically intense for a few seconds to wake up the nervous system. David began incorporating these into his day. Even during long work sessions, he could hit reset and feel revitalized. Why most people burn out. David noticed that many driven people make the same mistake: they run themselves into the ground thinking they can rest later. But the body doesn't work like that. Energy is a daily deposit system. If you don't replenish it regularly, the account runs dry, and so does your performance. The success energy loop. There's a beautiful feedback cycle. High energy rightward arrow, better performance. Better performance rightward arrow, greater confidence. Greater confidence rightward arrow, more energy. David began living inside that loop, and it transformed not just his results, but how much he enjoyed the journey. Your action plan for energy mastery. Move daily, even if it's just a 10-minute walk. Eat for energy, not just taste. Avoid heavy midday meals that make you sluggish. Hydrate, aim for 2 to 3 liters a day. Guard your mornings, use them for creativity and high-value work. Check your emotional state, ask, am I showing up energized? If not, shift it physically. David's realization was simple but life-changing: discipline with your energy equals freedom with your time. He no longer saw health as separate from success, it was the foundation of it. And every day he maintained his energy, he felt like he was adding fuel to the fire that would carry him toward his biggest dreams. Part 6, The Power of Relationships, Building a Network of Influence. When David looked back at his journey, he noticed something: every major breakthrough in his life had been connected to a person. A mentor who opened his eyes to possibilities. A friend who introduced him to the right investor. A colleague who challenged his thinking and pushed him to grow. Tony Robbins says, "The quality of your life is the quality of your relationships." That statement became a guiding principle for David. The early mistake: going solo. In the early days, David thought success was a solo mission. He'd work late nights alone, avoid networking events, and believe that if I just work hard enough, people will notice. But he learned the hard truth: success is rarely about being noticed, it's about being connected. A pivotal moment came when his mentor asked, "David, if you disappeared tomorrow, how many people would actually notice? How many would miss you because of the value you bring into their lives?" It was a wake-up call. The relationship shift. From that day, David made building relationships a priority, not in a fake, transactional way, but with genuine curiosity and care. He began following 3 rules. Give first, expect nothing, find ways to add value to people before asking for anything in return. Be genuinely interested, ask about their dreams, struggles, and passions. Stay in touch, relationships fade without consistent connection. The story of Priya and the investor. One of David's closest friends, Priya, faced a funding crisis. She had a brilliant product but couldn't secure the capital to scale. Instead of just wishing her luck, David introduced her to an investor he had met at a leadership event months earlier. That introduction changed everything. Priya closed her funding round within weeks. Priya told David later, "You didn't just help my business. You changed my life." And that's when David realized the real power of relationships: your network's wins become your wins too. Tony's 3 types of relationships. Robbins often explains that there are 3 categories of people in your life. Peers, people on a similar journey as you. They provide support, collaboration, and accountability. Mentors, those ahead of you who can guide and accelerate your growth. Ments, people you can help, which deepens your own understanding and creates legacy. David began intentionally seeking balance among these 3. He joined masterminds for peers, booked lunches with mentors, and offered advice to younger entrepreneurs. The law of proximity. Tony says, proximity is power. Being around high achievers naturally raises your standards. David tested this by attending a high-level seminar. Just being in a room where people spoke about million-dollar ideas casually shifted his mindset. The problems he thought were huge started to feel small compared to the challenges others were tackling. This made him realize, your environment shapes your thinking faster than you think. Avoiding the energy drainers. As important as it was to connect with great people, David also learned to protect himself from toxic ones. People who constantly complain. Those who doubt every idea. The ones who drain energy without giving anything back. Tony teaches that you become who you spend the most time with. If you want to grow, you need to audit your circle. David started setting boundaries, limiting time with negative people and expanding time with those who inspire and challenge him. The ripple effect of giving. One of David's favorite habits became making introductions. If he met someone interesting, he'd think, who else should they meet? Without expecting anything back, he'd connect people. Over time, this built him a reputation as a connector, someone who was valuable simply because of his network and generosity. This led to opportunities he never could have planned for. Speaking gigs. Partnerships. Insider information on market trends. How to build influence without power. Many people think influence comes from a title or money, but Tony says it's about trust. David followed 3 steps to build trust. Show up consistently, reliability builds credibility. Follow through, do what you say you'll do. Share credit, publicly acknowledge others' contributions. Before long, people began to seek his opinion not because he was the smartest, but because they trusted him. Your action plan for relationship power. List your 10 most important relationships, nurture them intentionally. Reach out to 1 new person a week, build your circle gradually. Give value without expectation, advice, resources, or introductions. Audit your circle, limit exposure to negative influences. Attend high-value gatherings, be in rooms that elevate your thinking. The big lesson. David realized that relationships aren't just a part of success, they are success. You can have skills, resources, and ambition, but without the right people, your journey will be slow and lonely. With strong connections, however, opportunities multiply, challenges become easier to face, and life feels richer. As Tony says, the secret to living is giving. And nowhere is that truer than in the relationships we choose to build. Part 7, The Power of Contribution, Living with Purpose. When David achieved financial success, he thought he had reached the summit of life. But one morning, sitting in his beautiful home with a cup of coffee, he felt an unexpected emptiness. Is this all there is? He wondered. That question haunted him for weeks until he attended another Tony Robbins event. On stage, Tony said something that cut through the noise. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. The secret to living is giving. The shift from success to significance. David realized that for years, his focus had been on getting clients, getting profits, getting recognition. But the most fulfilled people he had ever met were givers. They measured their lives not by what they accumulated but by the lives they touched. This wasn't about charity alone, it was about living with purpose. The teacher who changed his life. David remembered Mr. Sharma, his high school teacher. Mr. Sharma would stay after class to help struggling students, often without pay, and never expected recognition. One day, when David asked him why he worked so hard for so little reward, Mr. Sharma smiled and said, "The reward is knowing I planted seeds. I may never see all of them grow, but I know they will." Years later, David finally understood that statement. Contribution is about planting seeds you may never see bloom. Finding your cause. Tony explains that contribution doesn't have to mean starting a charity or donating millions. It can mean sharing your skills with someone who can't afford them. Mentoring a young person. Simply being fully present for a friend in pain. David started small, offering free workshops to young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. At first, he thought he was helping them, but soon he realized they were helping him, reminding him of the hunger and hope he once had. The energy of contribution. Something strange happened when David started giving more. He felt more energized. His business grew faster. Opportunities appeared unexpectedly. Tony calls this the law of reciprocity. When you give freely, you create an energy that attracts abundance. It wasn't magic, it was human nature. People trust and support those who give without strings attached. The power of purpose in hard times. A few years later, David's business hit a major downturn. Profits dropped, and stress levels rose. Oddly, what kept him going wasn't the thought of saving his business, it was knowing that dozens of young entrepreneurs still looked up to him. He couldn't quit, because quitting would mean letting them down. That sense of responsibility fueled him more than any personal ambition could. Tony often says, if you want to make life work, you need to find something bigger than yourself to serve. David was living proof. How to discover your contribution path. Tony teaches a simple framework to find where you can make the most impact. Identify your gifts, skills, experiences, or resources you have that others value. Find who needs them most, look for communities or individuals that would be transformed by what you can offer. Give consistently. Contribution works best when it's a habit, not a one-time act. David's gifts were business strategy, public speaking, and connecting people, so he focused his giving in those areas. The ripple effect. One of David's mentors, a young woman named Alicia, started her own small business thanks to his guidance. Years later, she told him, "Because you believed in me, I believed in myself. Now I mentor others." That's when David realized your contribution doesn't stop with the person you help. It spreads, often in ways you'll never see. Why contribution is the ultimate power. Here's why Tony puts contribution at the top of his life's priorities. It gives meaning to success. Money and achievements feel empty without purpose. It creates legacy. What you give lives on beyond you. It brings joy instantly. Giving releases feel-good chemicals in the brain, boosting happiness. For David, giving turned life into a mission, not just a race. Your action plan for contribution power. List 3 skills or resources you have that could help others. Commit 1 hour a week to giving them away for free. Support a cause that resonates with you financially or through time. Teach what you've learned, it multiplies impact. Make giving a lifestyle, not a seasonal activity. The full circle. Years later, David stood on a stage in front of thousands, sharing his story. As he looked at the audience, he thought of all the people who had poured into him, mentors, friends, even strangers. Now, he was the one pouring into others. And in that moment, he understood, unlimited power isn't about control over others, it's about the ability to lift them up, to inspire them, and to leave them better than you found them. We've walked through the journey Tony Robbins maps out in Unlimited Power, from mastering your mind and body to shaping your beliefs, directing your focus, taking decisive action, building empowering habits, and living a life of contribution. But here's the truth: reading or listening to these ideas isn't enough. Unlimited power is not a theory you understand, it's a discipline you live. Tony says it best. It's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. The power is in you, right now. You can change your emotional state in seconds. You can turn fear into fuel. You can reframe any setback into a stepping stone. You can create habits that make success inevitable. And most importantly, you can live not just for yourself, but for a purpose bigger than you. Your final takeaway. This book is not a one-time dose of motivation. It's a blueprint you can revisit whenever you feel stuck, drained, or doubtful. Remember, master your state before you try to master your circumstances. Shape beliefs that serve you, not limit you. Focus on what you want, not what you fear. Take massive, consistent action toward your vision. Keep improving. Small daily changes compound into greatness. Give back. The ultimate measure of success is the difference you make in others' lives. Why this matters now. The world is full of people waiting for the right time to start living. But the right time doesn't come, it's created. And if you apply even a fraction of what you've learned here, you'll stop waiting and start shaping your destiny today. From books to action. Here at Books Arena, my mission is to take these powerful ideas from the world's greatest thinkers and deliver them to you in a way that inspires action, not just awareness. If this audiobook summary of Unlimited Power gave you even one insight that could change your life, imagine what will happen when you start living these principles every single day. Your next step. If you found value in this journey, make sure you subscribe to Books Arena so you don't miss our upcoming full-length audiobook-style summaries. We explore books that can transform your thinking, elevate your mindset, and help you design the life you truly want. And remember, the ultimate power is already within you. You just have to unleash it.